Everybody has mini balls in the air and plates spinning, and want to respect everybody's time. I want to thank everyone for their partnership in being part of this announcement today. I want to thank our Council President Pro Tem Elizabeth Brown, the Women's Commission, Amelia Irvin, Managing Director for Cities for Financial Empowerment Fund, Courtney Walker, Executive Director for LSS 211 Central Ohio, and Bo Chilton, CEO of Impact Community Action. We knew in the early days of COVID-19 that as a community, we would need to fight the pandemic in three ways: as a public health crisis, a human service crisis, and as an economic crisis. In many ways, these categories overlap, and we knew that each would hit our most vulnerable populations in the city the hardest. Our efforts over these last few months have been keenly focused on providing access to address residents' basic needs, increasing the capacity of the Columbus human service providers, supporting small minority and women-owned businesses, and addressing racial health disparities across our community. This pandemic has exposed the depth of the racial divide. Some the case, but pandemics and crises have a way of magnifying and clarifying and exposing disparities that we knew existed before the pandemic. We know that we can only recover, have that dynamic and inclusive recovery that we're looking for if we do it equitably through that lens of equity. Now more than ever, our vision of economic security and resilience for residents requires building a thriving community where individuals and families have access to education, training, wages that support a family, higher paying jobs, financial wellness programs, and stable, affordable housing. Which is why this financial empowerment roadmap is so critically important at this time, and why I'm committed to moving this work forward. We have neighborhoods in this great city that were struggling with fewer options for education, financial insecurity, higher unemployment, higher rates of infant mortality, and a disproportionate amount of violent crime before the global pandemic struck. Our city will be measured not just how we address the challenges of all people who live here. Equity continues to be the foundation of my administration's top priorities, from diversity in our employees to inclusive availability for all city contracts. The financial empowerment roadmap we are unveiling today will play a critical role as we move forward. And I couldn't ask for a better partner, champion, and advocate for this work than Councilmember Elizabeth Brown, who I'd like to introduce and have her share a few words about this critically important work. President Pro Tem Brown.
Well, thank you so much, Mayor. And thank you for your partnership and leadership in this project, but really more than that, an endeavor for equity in our city. Columbus is a vibrant and growing city with many strengths. We love it, and we recognize those strengths. And yet, for all our successes, too many families continue struggling to make ends meet. The financial empowerment roadmap we are announcing today lays out a host of indicators that show that very struggle that too many families face. Financial insecurity is more prevalent among women, particularly Black and Latinx women, which is why we made sure they were really at the center of our roadmap. But financial insecurity impacts all of us, and I think it's a really important thing for us to recognize as policymakers. It impacts all of us as the city budget strains to provide services and supports needed by all residents. So this roadmap highlights the financial issues families are facing in Columbus and sets forth a coordinated strategy to help address them. The need to support financial empowerment of women and families was clear when we successfully applied for grant dollars for this work from the Cities for Financial Empowerment Fund last summer. As Mayor Ginther laid out, there were challenges in our city leading up to the pandemic. Many challenges that destabilized families. But this need is even more urgent now in the face of the COVID-19 pandemic, which continues to disproportionately impact those very same women and families who were already struggling before this health crisis. We have really taken a lens on this work that prioritizes women's role in our community, women's role as caregivers and breadwinners in their families. There was a Forbes headline recently calling the COVID-19 recession or downturn, however we're going to officially term this thing, the first. They said it was the first female recession or something like that. And they looked at over the last 50 years, 8 different economic downturns. And this is the first time that women have lost more jobs than men. Women were hit first in this pandemic due to the industry sectors that were compromised, and they were hit worst. Black and Latinx women have seen the worst unemployment rates of all groups of people, all the while serving this key responsibility of both breadwinning and caregiving in their homes. So when we talk about financial empowerment, we're not just talking about those adults that we want to serve better. It's really about serving whole families. Financial security is achieved through a host of resources. Housing, employment, transportation, all of these are crucial pillars. But under it all, financial empowerment is the bedrock that supports everything else. Access to reliable credit, banking services, household budgeting assistance, all of that helps amplify the benefits realized through other pillars of support, which the city is simultaneously committed to. This roadmap leverages financial wellness data compiled by the Kirwan Institute, community partners, and the voices of Columbus mothers to identify opportunities that bring financial security within reach. As I said at the top, I'm grateful to Mayor Ginther and his Columbus Women's Commission for partnering on this endeavor with me to create the roadmap. And I'm grateful for the leadership and the creation of the Columbus Women's Commission, which is uniquely positioned to attack these challenges. I also do want to shout out by name Kelsey Ellingson, who's my legislative aide, Karina Johnson in our policy office on the city council side, and Shelley Biting, who heads the Women's Commission. Without these 3 women, this roadmap would not be, there would be nothing. It would be thin air. We wouldn't be able to announce it today. I'm also grateful to the leaders of nonprofits and philanthropic organizations and financial institutions who gave their time and input, as well as myriad others within the city so that we could put forth a roadmap that represents a coordinated approach. But most importantly, I'm really grateful to the residents who participated in our focus groups. It's their voices that helped create a plan that truly centers their needs. The implementation of the work outlined within this roadmap will help level the playing field for women across our city by providing the resources they need for financial empowerment and connecting them to opportunity and embodying the city's commitment to those things. This approach will improve our financial security across our city, but it will also strengthen our neighborhoods and the health and wellness of families in any corner and every corner of the city. With that, I'm pleased to turn things over to our next speaker and to introduce Amelia Irwin, who is the Managing Director of the Cities for Financial Empowerment Fund. We really appreciate the ability to be involved in this process, to apply for this grant in the first place, and to be able to work with you. Amelia?
Great, thank you so much for that introduction, President Pro Tem Brown. As she said, I'm Amelia Irwin. I'm the Managing Director at the Cities for Financial Empowerment Fund. We work now with over 100 mayors and their teams across the country to launch government-led financial empowerment programs and policies. I also wanted to make sure to thank JP Morgan Chase & Company, and specifically Courtney Filato, who I hope is on the call somewhere, for supporting this work in Columbus, both City Start and the Financial Navigation Program. The CFE Fund's work with the City of Columbus started last year when we selected Columbus as one of our City Start grantees. City Start is essentially a guided planning process. It helps city and county governments and their partners figure out how to channel general interest in municipal financial empowerment into concrete, actionable strategies. The end goal of City Start is a blueprint, or in your case, a roadmap, that lays out the city's commitment to financial empowerment efforts led by city government, but informed by the community, from nonprofit organizations to residents to private sector and philanthropic partners. The City of Columbus did an amazing job of engaging stakeholders from across the community and of listening to those most impacted by financial instability, women, especially women of color, and their families. The goals and objectives they lay out in their roadmap points to the unique role that government can play in building resident financial stability, elevating the role of financial empowerment as a citywide priority, aligning efforts across sectors and partners, using city service touchpoints to increase access to financial empowerment tools and resources, and leveraging systems and policies to support women and families and connect them to opportunity. No one could have predicted that this process would be interrupted by a global pandemic, but the roadmap and all of the community input and feedback it included actually provided a pretty nice platform for the city to immediately respond to the financial impact of COVID-19 on residents. As a first step towards making their roadmap a reality, the CFE Fund selected the City of Columbus to launch a Financial Navigators initiative. Financial Navigators help residents deal with the financial impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, providing remote assistance in navigating critical financial issues and making referrals to other social services and resources. Columbus is one of 30 cities and counties across the country now providing this critical service to residents, connecting them to these resources in their communities, and is one of the first cities to launch the program. So congratulations on that. COVID-19 has underscored the importance of this work and the role that local government can play, the role that local government must play in building the financial stability of its most vulnerable residents. So a big congratulations from us at the CFE Fund to the City of Columbus on this important step and on all of the hard work that led up to it. I want to thank Mayor Ginther, City Council Pro Tem Brown, as well, again, as echoing the congratulations and thanks to Shelley Biting and Karina Johnson and the rest of the team at the Columbus Women's Commission for their leadership, vision, and hard work to make this all happen. And now I'll hand it over to Bo Chilton of Impact Community Action.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you, Mayor Ginther, Councilmember Pro Tem Brown, and to the Women's Commission for your leadership and your partnership to promote financial empowerment for the most vulnerable residents and to strive for the noble ideal that this is a community where we can have prosperity for all. You've taken a comprehensive approach in understanding that our solution starts with partnerships. First and foremost, to be in partnership with the people that we are serving. We appreciated the opportunity here at Impact to host one of the focus groups so that our customers could give voice to their struggle and to be part of the solution. Secondly, we have city leadership that understands the importance of public, private, and nonprofit partnerships in order to implement a holistic and comprehensive approach to financial empowerment. COVID-19 continues to highlight the disparate impacts on women and families of color. Mayor Ginther framed it perfectly as both a public health, economic, and human service crisis. Women are also overrepresented in industries that are most at risk of losing jobs as a result of COVID-19, including restaurants, retail, and hotels. Nationally, we've seen 70% of waitresses and waiters, 77% of clothing and shoe stores and cashiers and salespeople, and 88% of maids and housekeepers, disproportionately in jobs in which many will not return. Even before the pandemic struck, women comprised nearly 2/3 of the low-wage workers, jobs paying $11.50 an hour or less. These jobs are less likely to offer the needed family supports, such as paid leave, health insurance, or childcare. We are glad to partner with the City of Columbus, and we look forward to joining you in the fight to make sure that we provide prosperity for all through financial empowerment. We look forward to doing our part to make Columbus a resilient community with resilient citizens. Now I'd like to introduce another partnering organization, Lutheran Social Services 211 Executive Director, Courtney Walker.
Thank you, Bo. LSS 211 Central Ohio is excited to partner with the city for the Financial Navigator program. This program is designed to support families facing financial hardship to help them regain some financial stability. The 211 service is a vital link between people who need services and those agencies that can help them. Participating in the Financial Navigator program will enable us to support families beyond just providing a resource, but also by connecting them with a financial navigator that can help them assist with basic budgeting needs. Insufficient income impacts the majority of individuals who contact LSS 211 on a daily basis, which is increasing the need for providing resources during these challenging times. The pandemic has disproportionately impacted those who were already struggling financially, reaching out, requesting resources for rent payment assistance or utility assistance, or even just a food pantry appointment. LSS 211 is looking forward to connecting families to financial planning resources through the Financial Navigator program. I'll hand it back to you, Mayor.
Thank you, Courtney, and thanks again to City Council, the Columbus Women's Commission, and all of our partners in this critically important work, Bo, and so many of our partners that have been part of this. So proud of the work that we've done, Amelia, and so grateful for your partnership and Chase's engagement. I was glancing through this document and realized there was one small but major significant thing that wasn't listed because it happened just last week. And that is a decades-old wrong was righted by the 10th District Court of Appeals in a unanimous decision, folks, issuing one opinion. So not even concurring opinions on evictions, here in Columbus. So we'll add eviction reform. I just made a note on my copy here. We can add eviction reform to our financial empowerment timeline for impact and change, because we know just in this community last year, 16,000 evictions took place, displacing not just individuals, but oftentimes families, and it overwhelmingly disproportionately impacts women of color. So a huge win, and grateful for the Women's Commission and all the partners that are part of this call today to help us right that wrong. And want to thank the judges who issued that opinion to help us do that. As I said earlier, and all of our speakers have emphasized, we must use this opportunity for recovery to build equity. We cannot reach our full potential as a city if every resident doesn't have opportunities to succeed. I'm excited about the financial empowerment roadmap and our pilot programs, but it really illustrates that we have to go about things differently. If you look back to the recovery post the Great Recession, oftentimes disparities, particularly amongst race and gender, actually grew over the last 10 years pre-COVID. And so learning lessons from our recovery from the Great Recession really is going to force us to do things differently as we move forward. And that's why this roadmap comes at such a critical time for us as a community. If we really want shared prosperity in every family and every neighborhood sharing in our success, we need to be focused on and investing in, even as budgets tighten and difficult decisions are made at the city level about finite resources and significant needs, thinking about equity as we make some of those critical decisions about our priorities moving forward. We're happy to answer a few questions. You should have all received instructions via the media alert, but let me go through them. You should see a hand button next to your name. Click on that to raise your hand. We'll unmute you one at a time to answer your questions. Be sure to unclick the hand after we've answered the questions. Click again if you have another question or a follow-up. And as we unmute you, if you could share your name and media organization if I can't see it when I call on folks. I believe we have one question. No questions yet. If there are any questions, feel free to let us know and we'll be happy to answer them. The one thing I wanted to ask as a follow-up to Amelia is maybe what have you seen in some of the other communities that you're working with that Columbus could really be informed about? You know, with this roadmap and all the cities that you're working with across the country, obviously there's some key common elements, but maybe some additional insight from some other communities, maybe similar to Columbus, that you've gathered in this work.
Yeah, sure. So one of the things, you know, one of the other major programs that we work with now several dozen cities on is a program called the Financial Empowerment Centers, which is a city-run, entirely free, professional, one-on-one financial counseling and coaching program that's integrated within city services. And so we've been working on that initiative now for over 12 years, starting with the city of New York, and again now replicated in multiple cities across the country. And we found that, you know, particularly when the crisis first hit back in March, the cities who had that infrastructure already in place in their cities were able to immediately send residents in crisis to go get, again, professional free help and counseling and thinking through, you know, what bills can I pause? Where do I put my finite resources? What happens if I've lost a job or an income source? And how do I think about prioritizing what my next steps are? That was a really, truly important and critical service that cities who had that infrastructure in place at that time were able to deploy immediately and really invest more private dollars and public dollars where they had it into making that service more robust. We saw a huge uptick in calls, and you know, that service had been in person, all went virtual, but we saw a huge increase in demand for that sort of right away. And so one of the things that we've been working with our City Start partners on is thinking through, you know, what are the critical pieces of infrastructure that cities should really be investing in for the good times and the bad, because, you know, of course, this is an unprecedented crisis happening globally, but certainly individual families have crises all the time. And so what are, you know, thinking through what do families need when they're in crisis, and how does city government really think about the role that they can play? What unique role can they bring to providing high quality free services to residents to really help not only with the sort of more global crises, but in individual family crises as well. Excuse me. And that resource has been, I think, a really critical piece to it. Another part that has been sort of highlighted in importance over the last several months is the consumer protection part. You know, and that's something, of course, that's really unique to government, and thinking through how to protect consumers who are being met with a number of different scams. You know, in the most recent crisis, ranging from healthcare type scams to, you know, rapid COVID testing or some miracle treatment, all the way to, you know, give us your account number and we'll get your stimulus check fast forwarded or something like that. We've really seen a number of different very rapid scams affecting communities across the country. And so thinking through how do cities equip themselves with complaint lines, with the ability to mediate and to go after bad practices they see in the marketplace. Again, at all times, but particularly in times of crisis like this, when we really see a spike in that type of activity. So those would be two that I could highlight, but certainly there are a number of different strategies that different cities have employed.
That's great. Thank you, Amelia. I know that a couple of questions have asked about an electronic copy or how to access the report. It is on the Women's Commission website, and we can make sure for any of the press that are on the call or folks interested, we can send a link to that as well. Are there any other questions? I think there's one question from Kalitha Williams. Ms. Williams?
Yes. Thank you. I'm curious, which of the organizations is actually going to be providing the navigator services, and what type of training have the navigators received or will receive to provide the program services described?
Which of the panelists would like to respond? Courtney?
Yes, I can respond to that. The financial navigators have received extensive online training through CFE. I forget how many hours, but they've received training that was online through the Compass database that has prepared them to complete intake forms to provide those resources to the individuals. And that service is provided via LSS 211. I have a financial navigator on staff, and the program completed a soft launch August 26th.
Yeah, I can just add that the CFE Fund developed a national training for all 30 plus cities and counties who have a program in some of the national resources and things that are available around things like the CARES Act and other sort of topics specific to this crisis. But then in general, a bunch of kind of high level training on a number of different financial topics that we know that families are facing across the country. And then we worked really hard with the team in Columbus to come up with some local resources and, what are the things happening in the state and in the city that are pertinent to your residents, and did an additional training on some of those local resources as well. We have a national database that all of the programs are using called Compass, which Courtney mentioned, which really guides the calls. We're not collecting a lot of information from the callers. We really want to make the service as lowest bar to entry as possible to really get people help as quickly as they can get it. But it is the way that the navigators can sort through all of the many referrals that they have access to, and to really kind of guide the conversations with callers to make sure that they're getting tailored support to their individual financial needs.
And I will just add that we're really excited about the launch of the Financial Navigator pilot program today. And it is a key piece. I mean, the report has kind of 3 buckets of work: aligning financial empowerment services, improving access and awareness around services, and then the third one, creating policy and systems change to reduce barriers to financial opportunity, things like fine and fee justice, doing that work. So the Financial Navigator program is absolutely at the core, of those 3 buckets, and really the first 2. They're playing a critical role, and we've really appreciated as a city being able to tap into the expertise of Amelia and the CFE Fund to help create something that a pilot program that will work for those ultimate sort of systems goals.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions? Ms. Williams, you still have your hand up. Do you have a follow-up?
No, I am unaware that I was unaware that my hand was still up.
No worries. No worries. Well, if there aren't any other questions, I leave it to the panel. Any closing comments from Councilmember Brown, Ms. Walker, Sirwick, Mr. Chilton? Anything you'd like to close with today?
I'll just quickly add what I think we've all made obvious here today, which is that we believe this work is really important and only made more so because of COVID-19. After the Great Recession, you saw really enormous government investment into the male-dominated industries that had been hit by the Great Recession. You saw investments in banking, you saw investments in construction, a recognition from our government that those who had been hit first and worst by the recession needed attention. And what we're doing today is one piece of a really big puzzle in how we need to think of response to this crisis, so that we are putting the focus on those who need their government to have their back. And that's why I'm really excited about this community work. It's not just us on our own, it's a community altogether. But it's going to take work like this in many different avenues, along many different avenues, to really get us to a place where those families who were hit first and hit worst by this downturn have a chance at security and recovery, and raising their kids into more opportunity, which is really what we all want at the end of the day. So thank you, Mayor Ginther.
Thank you, Councilmember. Any additional comments from any of our panelists before we wrap up this afternoon? Thank you all for joining us. Thanks for your partnership, and excited about this roadmap that we're all going to work on together as a community to build that dynamic and inclusive recovery through the lens of equity. Thanks for everybody's partnership, and have a great rest of the afternoon.